My dear friends, today on the Do Roboty channel, we're literally taking off. We'll show you what the training process looks like for pilots and cabin crew. So what do you say? Let's fly.
Emergency! Emergency! Open your seatbelts!
Not that way, not that way.
Hold! Get out. Leave your luggage.
Go, go, go! Ah, something's not right. My dear friends, today on the Do Roboty channel, we're up in the skies again. We've arrived in Budapest. Meet the expert of today's episode, Valeria. Welcome.
Hi, Wojciech.
Safety instructor, so today we'll be talking about safety, but not only that.
Yes, today we'll be training because this is a training center. We train both cabin crews and pilots for various situations that may occur. So today you'll get to try everything. You'll be practicing everything and you'll be doing everything yourself too.
But why in Budapest?
Well, because that's our headquarters. It's one of the biggest training centers in Europe. Here we have real simulators, which I'll show you, by the way.
Today's going to be dynamic. We'll discuss safety and work. Ready to begin?
Let's get to work.
With Valeria, we've already entered the training center. Behind us, is that a real or fake plane?
Yes, it's real. It used to be. About 20 years ago, it was flying in Brazil. It was a real plane that was modified by Wizz Air specifically for our practical training. In various situations that can occur during a flight, we have to be prepared, but it really used to be a real plane.
I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know if you, dear viewers, are nervous along with me because Valeria knows what's going to happen here. Maybe you do too, but I don't necessarily know yet. But I see what looks like some kind of evacuation slide here.
Yes.
Are we going to use this?
This is also a real slide. We have the same ones on every plane, and today we'll be using them to simulate an evacuation.
So I'll be evacuating.
Sliding down, yes.
All right, so stay until the end.
No stress.
I just started feeling stressed. Stay until the end of the video. I'm staying here and it will be fine. Let's keep going. We see modern technology here. Everything is connected in this building.
Yes, there are a lot of different systems here, and this is the center where everything is operated and connected so that everything works like clockwork.
Well, yes, and we can imagine that all of this is inside the airplane because such a cabinet is inside the airplane to connect all this equipment. Here we have real seats, I suppose, because today I flew here to Budapest and they looked very similar.
Exactly. In each of our newer airplanes, because there are still some slightly older planes, all of them have these kinds of seats and all of them have these kinds of exits. The cabin crew, of course, must inform every passenger who is sitting by such an exit that in case of a situation that requires it, they need to open this exit themselves, because this is an exit where there is no crew. So we absolutely inform you step by step about what you should do here so that we can all get out of the plane safely.
A question comes to mind since flight crews often tell us to open window shades during landing and takeoff.
Yes.
What is the purpose of that?
This is very important because we have a limited number of cabin crew on each plane. There are a lot of windows and a lot of view. We need to know what's happening outside during takeoff and landing, right?
Okay.
So we need you to make sure that we're safe.
I was the one who slept on the plane today, so now I'll catch up on what I should do to know if we're safe. But we were because we made it here, so everything was safe. I believe these are real seats too.
And these are the old seats. Fun fact, these seats are from a real Wizz airplane, which made the very first flight in Wizz Air's history, which was also from Poland, from Katowice, in 2004.
See, we had to come all the way to Budapest to learn all this.
Yes, exactly.
So what do you practice on those older seats?
This is a place where we practice different situations that might happen with unruly passengers.
No, I'll get up. If it's about unruly passengers, I'm out.
We are also trained first and foremost to de-escalate every conflict, right? So that we can handle any conflict situation that may arise well. But we are also trained to absolutely restrain such a person if it becomes a matter of our safety, the safety of the aircraft, or the safety of our passengers. For example, I have never done that myself. I only practiced here, right between these seats. I'm lucky I've never had situations like that. Maybe I'm just good at de-escalation.
Well, maybe that's true. Maybe you can explain everything with words, even to rude passengers.
Yes.
As I was sitting here, I looked like a polite person, so
Absolutely.
I think we can move on. Here I see a kind of wall and a lot of equipment. Is all of this also on the plane?
Yes, we have this equipment on the plane, and in all training centers like this one, we also have smaller centers without simulators where we practice and learn to use the equipment. These are, for example, fire extinguishers, and this too. We'll practice with them later, I'll show you.
Okay.
This is also for putting out fires. This is equipment, yes, protective gear for your respiratory system in smoky conditions. Yes.
So that's usually on board too, right?
Everything is on board.
Okay, okay.
You'll find everything on board, so we must know its exact location.
Yes, because we don't usually see this equipment when flying on a plane.
Yes.
Maybe we do see fire extinguishers, but never helmets like these, so later we'll...
That's normal, but we know.
All right,
Yes, we will test.
so let's get on the plane now.
Come on in, this is our simulator, and this is our Victoria.
Hi, Wojciech.
This is the ambassador.
Hi Wojtek, hi Valeria, we know you.
Hi, darling. And Victoria will be helping us here.
Yes, this is our training area, so Wojtek, if you're ready for the next part.
I don't know about that.
You'll really look the part after changing into our training uniform.
Okay, all right, let's get to work, change clothes, and get into action. Dear viewers, you can write in and let me know if I look just as good in this training suit as I did a moment ago. And as for how I'll look at the end of this episode, you'll have to wait, watch it all the way through, and let me know if anything changed, if I relaxed, or maybe the opposite. Let's zip up and get back to the girls. I'm already changed, girls, but I don't think we're going to space.
You look wonderful. We're not going to space. I have a tablet here that can simulate almost anything, but definitely not space.
Okay.
All the situations that can happen on a plane and the weather outside too, all the outside conditions, I can set them here
Okay, so
from this one tablet.
if we switch, what do we have here?
Well, for example, here we can make it night outside, we can make it daytime, but rainy.
Now, as you can see on the screen, the plane is taking off. We'll show the full process from the start soon, but right now the simulation is running. Everything is shaking and you can hear it through the speakers just like a real takeoff. So the technology of this whole simulator is really advanced, but the question is, can we really recreate literally all the situations that can happen in the sky here?
Yes, you can recreate everything except for moving around. We can't move the simulator, but all the other situations that might occur, we are able to turn them on or off here.
Okay, so all right, because I felt the shaking, but we can't, let's say, do any turning or things like that.
Yes.
Well, okay, but as I can see looking at this tablet, it's really, well, not complicated, but technologically advanced. So shall we get to work?
Let's get to work.
Victoria will now show us how the whole system works here, what the crew and the aircraft staff do here, so where do we start?
Alright Wojtek, behind you is our intercom. I'm sure you heard the crew speaking into it today.
That's right.
Unless you were sleeping.
Yeah, I was half asleep, but I listened to the safety instructions. And here I have a question too. All the things you always talk about when you stand there and explain, is that from memory, or do you read it from a card, or...
Imagine that the voice you hear, even though it usually sounds like a radio announcer, we actually say everything from memory. So it's not being read, and it's not played from some kind of machine. We have it all in our heads, and every time we say it ourselves.
Okay, so it's always in English, and the second language depends, I guess, on the airport you're departing from, or not really?
Here in Poland, it's always like this. We speak in English and in Polish. In other countries, we adjust the languages, but of course, if someone can say something in another language, it's always a plus. Maybe you would like to...
I need you to tell me what to say, because I don't know what to say myself.
Okay.
So we'll try and see if my voice will sound just as much like an airline announcement.
So always at the beginning, to welcome our passengers, we stand here in the middle, so come down here to the middle.
Okay.
Next to me, yes, maybe let's switch, there, like that, and I always have to say good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wizz Air flight at Chopin Airport in Warsaw.
Okay. Oh, I already forgot. So, dear passengers, no, how was I supposed to say it, ladies and gentlemen?
Dear passengers.
Dear passengers, welcome to Chopin Airport on board our Wizz Air flight. Now I'm saying, dear viewers, dear passengers, write in the comments whether I said it as much like a flight attendant as Victoria, or maybe a bit more like a YouTuber. And for example, when you're conducting sales on board, or informing passengers that we'll be landing soon and things like that, do you have all of that memorized?
Yes.
You have to learn all of that beforehand?
Yes, exactly. It's not even that we have to learn it, it's just natural for us that we talk to passengers, for example, about the current offer, which is also available in the brochure, and we just know it by heart.
And when it comes to different airplanes, since obviously there are different cabins and different numbers of seats, does the text also get adjusted to that particular airplane?
Yes, of course, we always adjust it to the destination and the length of the flight so that passengers know from the very beginning how long they will be flying. And when it comes to airplane models, we also always mention the differences, for example, the number of emergency exits.
Oh, that too.
That's very important.
And here I think we can also connect with the captain.
Of course, if you want to call him through this intercom, you can, I can.
Sure you can, and I'll be able to soon after training. The question is, does everything we say here always go to, let's say, the whole plane? Or can we somehow divide it into zones? Or just talk, I don't know, oh, I hear something here, talk to the flight attendant who's in the back of the plane.
This is another part of our training because here we have these two special panels that light up in different colors depending on where we're calling. If I want to call my colleague who's in the back, then I just press the appropriate button here. And she, on the same kind of panel as this one, just in the back part, will know that I'm calling her and she'll answer. Not everyone will hear it.
Be careful not to press the wrong button. If you hit the one for the back and it broadcasts to the whole plane, that would be embarrassing.
It could be funny, yes.
All right, so shall we move on to the safety instructions on the plane? Maybe I'll finally learn something and share it here in the middle.
Of course, let's go.
Emergency exits are marked with exit signs. The plane has a total of 10 emergency exits. 2 are at the front of the cabin. 4 exits are over the wings. Now we will show you how to use the seat belts. Wojtek, tell me, do you know why the safety demonstration is important?
Well, I think someone might be flying for the first time and not know all of this. If someone flies every week, every month, then maybe, in their opinion, they can have their headphones in and not listen to it. But still, in my opinion, you should at least know where the emergency exits are.
Exactly, yes. Of course, passengers also need to know where the equipment is and what equipment we have and how to use it. But also in an emergency situation, so they know where to reach for the life vest. For example, yes, because we have, I emphasize, only 90 seconds to evacuate the plane. Yes, even the biggest ones, so we also need their support. Yes, so that's why we asked them to remove their headphones during the demo so that they are as prepared as we are.
90 seconds for what? In an emergency situation? Like if the plane, I don't know, makes an emergency landing or is already on the ground somewhere? Later we'll show how the slides work and how you go down them. But does everyone have to leave the plane within 90 seconds?
Yes.
And is that realistic?
Yes, every airline is tested to see if we are trained so that we are able to do it, and we are able to do it.
Okay, as I assume all these trainings, everything that happens here in Budapest in this training center is in English. So English for serving passengers here, for operating the aircraft, is a must-have language that we have to know fully, right?
Yes, our crews are trained in English. All our handbooks, the so-called manuals, are in English. So of course the first language in our company is English. But if you fly, for example, from Warsaw, there's a high probability that you'll have a crew that also speaks Polish.
So maybe now I'll present in sign language what Victoria just presented a moment ago.
Try it. Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to the cabin crew who will introduce you to the emergency equipment on board so that in the unlikely event of an emergency, you are prepared and know what to do. Please remove your headphones, mute your electronic devices, and focus on the instructions given by the crew. There are 2 exits behind the wings. And 2 exits at the rear of the cabin. Bravo, Wojtek.
Yes, I did it. Did everyone understand? You can write in the comments if you understood what I showed, as if we had the microphone turned off here. Well, I don't know, I guess so, right?
Bravo, you did very well. I would love to have a steward like that on my flight.
I'm glad. Maybe someday in the future I'll become a steward. By the way, are there any age limits for doing this job?
I think you're definitely a good fit and you meet the age requirement. Yes, you have to be at least 18 years old, of course, and above all, the person must have a positive attitude. That's the most important thing.
I'm 18 years old and I have a positive attitude. In a moment, I know that we'll be training for less pleasant situations because of crisis situations, so I guess we'll move on to those now, right?
Even in those crisis situations, we have to keep that positive attitude above all, right? We have to believe that we can make it and we know that we are able to do what it takes to succeed, don't we?
All right, let's go.
Wojtek, you did a great job showing our emergency exits, really great. Would you like to try something else? For example, putting on the vest?
Yeah, I think so. I'll at least learn something.
You put it on, yes, over your head, exactly. Oh, good. Here is the little battery for the flashlight. It's just a small light. Yes, it's actually necessary for water evacuation, of course. And when it comes into contact with water, it starts to shine. Mm-hmm. Do you know anything else about this life jacket?
Well, there's probably a CO2 cartridge here that will...
Very good.
Inflate it, technically speaking.
Exactly. It activates here by pulling and here and this.
That, well, I was listening, so we can inflate it if the CO2 or something didn't work, right?
Exactly. We can inflate it, for example, if something happens to our cartridge, this so-called cartridge, and of course we can loosen it. So would you like to try inflating this vest?
Pulse 150.
Wait, I need a moment like this. Hop.
All right. Can I pull?
Yes.
All right, ha ha ha.
All right, so how are you feeling? I had to take a step back.
I didn't know what to expect really, so I was stressed, but no. You don't have to be, it's for our safety, so we don't stress about it. And well, when we jump out now, for example, we're on the water, we land in an emergency situation, this will keep us afloat.
Yes, this will keep us afloat on the water, exactly. The most important thing is not to inflate it for an adult inside the cabin. We only inflate it when leaving the plane.
When leaving?
This is a special training situation now, right? And if, for example, we have a small child, then of course we have to inflate the child's life vest while still on the plane.
Okay, that's also an important instruction. Do I look good? I look good.
You look beautiful and ready.
Ready for jumps? So, are we going to evacuate now?
Yeah, that's right.
How do you take this off?
Exactly. There was an instruction. Here you go.
We can loosen it.
Brace for impact, brace for impact.
Brace position, bend down, protect your head. Bend down, protect your head. Brace position, protect your head.
Evacuate.
Evacuate.
Emergency, emergency. Unfasten your seatbelts, unfasten your seatbelts. Get out, get out, get out, get out. Leave your luggage, leave your luggage.
Leave your luggage, emergency, emergency. So, how do you feel?
How do I feel? Well, of course, great, because I'm already...
Safe.
Safe, yeah. That's most important, but I'm shocked because I jumped out and didn't know what to expect when I opened the door. Suddenly,
Yes.
the door opens, I knew the slide was deployed, I had to jump, and I knew the instructions.
But that's the stress you feel. It's real. Every member of our cabin crew, everyone who comes here for training always feels a bit of stress because it's very dynamic and very, very similar to a real evacuation, right?
That's right, let's hope it never happens to anyone. It's good that we're training for it, but let's move on. Leave a thumbs up on this video because we're showing something really cool. I'm glad I can be here. Leave a thumbs up. Let's go. Victoria, we're halfway through the training. More challenges are coming up in a moment, but what does the recruitment process look like to even get into this place?
Anyone who's interested in working as a flight attendant first has to take an English test, so they take a test. We check then if, above all, they are able to communicate with our passengers. Later, we invite the candidate to a meeting with us where we check various skills, especially interpersonal ones, how they behave, and we test them under the pressure of different scenarios that we create, which actually happen on board every day, to see how they will behave in difficult situations. We observe all of this, and based on that, we decide whether we think that person is suitable to work with us on board. If, after this recruitment, that person is selected, then they participate in the first part of the training, which takes place before everything you did today. We have a theoretical part where our candidates simply sit in a classroom and learn very important theoretical material.
And how long does it take from the start of the recruitment process to where we are now, or until you actually start the job?
It's about 6 weeks, yes.
Okay.
The trainings take place in different countries. You can choose where the training will be held depending on availability. And of course, there is also a theoretical exam afterwards.
And everyone might think that the job of a flight attendant, what we see on the plane, is just saying hello, welcoming passengers, then selling some products and talking about safety, but that's only a fraction of everything you do or are responsible for, right?
Of course, our job is to create an atmosphere so that you think that's all we do, but in reality, our main responsibility is to ensure safety and to make sure that you, as passengers, are in good hands.
So it's important for a candidate who wants to stay in this job or do this work to be able to handle stress well. And that smile on your face?
Yes.
Because you're also representing the whole company, so you have to smile nicely too. So if anyone would like to become a steward or stewardess, because for now in this series we're showing what it looks like, you'll find all the links in the description, and now I'm moving on to the next part of the training. Only this lady and the one next to her know what's happening, but I don't, and I'm still stressed, so let's go.
Wojtek, I brought you to the alma mater of our pilots. As you can see, there are 3 huge machines here. These are real cockpit simulators. So outside conditions are simulated there, weather, all the flight conditions that can be simulated and so on. How much do you think one of these devices costs?
Looking at it, it could be the price of half an airplane, I don't know, 5-10 million.
10 million euros, yes. All right, okay. One such device costs 10 million euros, and each of these machines operates here 24/7.
Okay, so all the time.
All the time?
There's a constant turnover, let's say, of those pilots who are training here?
Exactly. Every pilot has to come back here every 6 months to get additional training, yes.
Okay, but if something costs 10 million, it's obvious that it has to pay off eventually, so there has to be a constant turnover and pilots need to be trained all the time, and most importantly, safety. The real airplane fuselage we saw earlier doesn't look like a plane anymore, it looks more like a spaceship, right?
A spaceship, yes. In a moment, my colleague, a captain from our company, a very experienced instructor, will take you inside. Are you ready?
Well, ready to go in, I guess, but are we flying?
We are going to fly.
Are we going to take off?
We are going to take off and land.
Land. I was just about to ask if we will land. Well, if I will land, we'll find out in a moment. Stay until the end of this video because we will be both taking off and landing. So, shall we go upstairs?
Let's go.
I'm excited. I never even imagined in my life that I'd get into a cockpit like this. I've been in a real plane, so now it's time for the simulator. Come on, come with me.
Remember, safety is the most important thing, so let's talk about safety for a moment. If this bridge is lowered, we can always evacuate safely just by taking the normal route, like the stairs here.
Okay.
We use yellow lines or green signs to show how to evacuate the building, right? However, if we're inside, these doors will be closed during the session and then the bridge will go up. If, for example, something happens and it's not down, we have to evacuate. Then here you see there's an evacuation ladder.
Okay, for evacuation.
You detach it, throw it down, it goes down, and in the same way we evacuate using these yellow lines here, right?
Okay.
We go inside, close the door, and now before evacuation we check if the bridge is there. If it's not, we open the door. If you can't open them, kick here to open so we can just kick it out and evacuate this way, right? If there was some situation like a fire or something, this extinguisher will help us with the fire. If there is ever a situation where I can't do anything, you need to cut the power to the simulator. Here we have these 2 buttons, or that red one down there in the corner. Here we set up everything, the whole environment in which, so to speak, we work. Both the instructor and the trainee.
So the instructor sits here, right?
Yes, the instructor normally sits here. Here we set everything. The aircraft settings, the amount of fuel, the center of gravity, closing the doors, arming. We also set the aircraft's position where we want it at the airport and the environment. See, it's daytime now, so everything is clearly visible.
That's right.
But we can just click and it's night, right?
Okay.
We are able to simulate everything.
Okay.
Weather issues, turbulence, wind, clouds, visibility, everything can be done here.
And do you also test and learn everything here? Or is it more like you learn a basic foundation here and build the rest through real-world training elsewhere?
The point is that in any conditions, the pilot should be able to do what he is trained for. So you practice in different conditions. You also have control over the aircraft systems. All the things, all the systems, but there are a lot of them, right? Hydraulics, fuel systems, electrical systems, and all of that. Basically, because there's so much of it, it's complicated. Even though this is aviation and everything here is duplicated, sometimes even triplicated, some systems have triple redundancy, it can still happen that something goes wrong. So you have to practice what to do if something breaks down. And here at this point, you can simulate everything, any malfunction in any phase of the flight, right?
Okay, so how long does such training take? When I look at the complexity of this system, how long does this training in the flight simulator take? Not even talking about real flights, just the simulator to go through all of this. Fog, no fog?
This is done during type rating training. There is a certain package that is required by regulations. There are certain malfunctions that need to be practiced. And then there are these 6-month cycles, and every pilot goes through them so that over a few years they cover the full set of malfunctions. Generally, a pilot who is already flying regular routes has 2 4-hour sessions every 6 months, and during that time he practices a certain cycle. So a certain set of malfunctions, right? And then after half a year there's another one, until he goes through everything, and then it's the same again. That's how it looks.
Okay, so what now?
Let's practice.
Let's sit, practice, and prepare.
Please have a seat.
Let's start.
Ease off the stick a little.
All right.
I'm controlling the direction, I'm keeping the direction.
All right.
And now put it in neutral.
All right, we're changing.
All right, pull, see, we're taking off.
Jesus, we're taking off.
Start, look here now.
Here, yeah.
And try to keep it on this crosshair, okay? You have control. And now, do you see here, there's this blue 3000?
I see it, yeah.
Try to hold 3000, all right?
All right.
And you'll see in a moment, when we reach 3000, you'll level off. We'll go into level flight.
We have 3,000. Should I ease up a little?
Yes. Lower it.
No, it keeps coming back to me.
Harder. You have to steer. Great, okay, I have control. If we set a parameter here, and now you see, look, when I turn this knob to the left, and I'm aiming for this bar, for this vertical line.
No.
This is called the bar. Now watch, I let go and it moves on its own, see?
Yeah, it's going
And it goes until it reaches the course that we set up here.
259, okay.
259, but we'll set the opposite one like this, okay? Look, it practically flies by itself, right? Try it. Holding this stick, try to get it on a heading of 190. This line tells you to move the stick to the right.
Exactly.
You need to be more assertive. Okay. Do you understand?
All right, I'm off. Not that way.
Not that way.
We're approaching for landing.
You need to correct because you're flying fast to start and the airport is getting away from us.
I can't? They landed.
We landed, didn't we?
Safely on the ground, but, well, yeah, it's cool. I could really do this for a long time. It's an amazing experience to be able to fly like this.
Now notice that all the sensations here are simulated.
Yes, definitely.
G-forces, some you see the very moment of catching a cold, everything is...
Yes, well, the flight itself, when there's no turbulence...
If there's no turbulence, you basically don't feel much of anything.
But at least something happens during takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
Nice. Marek, now we've just come out of the simulator, which is already a preparatory stage for real flying with this particular plane. But what does the whole process look like for someone who wants to become a pilot in general?
Yes, that's true here. It's already kind of the final stage of the process. The stage where a pilot joins an airline, right? But before that happens, there are different paths. Someone can train on their own, get a private pilot license, then a commercial one, additional ratings, multi-engine and instrument ratings, plus a certain transitional stage of training to fly a jet. And only then, if he passes the recruitment, he goes to an airline like Wizz Air. There are other paths as well. You can go to a flight school, where the flight school gives you the things I mentioned, or Wizz Air has a program called Wizz Air Pilot Academy, a program aimed at everyone.
Okay.
Basically, anyone can participate in this program, try it out, and Wizz Air also helps to finance this program.
Okay,
right.
So in that case, you don't need prior preparation, but you do have to pass psychological and health tests.
Yes.
To even get in there at all, but you don't have to have any prior aviation background, you just...
Yes. There are certain tests that check your psychomotor and psychological aptitude to see if you will how should I put it, show promise. Right? Wizz Air has agreements with certain flight schools and simply helps you go through the whole process. If you go through this whole process, you'll basically become a Wizz Air pilot.
Okay. Well, that's nice because they also train their own pilots.
Yes.
So let's say their own employees.
Yes.
They give them the opportunity to get training.
They train them from scratch according to the criteria that Wizz Air wants.
Okay.
Right?
Here, as we mentioned, we just got out of the simulator, out of the machine. How can you compare this to real flying? You fly every day, so I won't ask which is easier, because it's obvious that it's definitely a lot more relaxed in a simulator like this than in a real plane. But how can you compare them? Is this really an exact replica of real flying?
This simulator and its cockpit, all the buttons, all the dependencies between the systems, the operation of the systems, the way the buttons work, and the flight model as well, the algorithms, everything is just like in a real airplane. The same goes for weather conditions, turbulence. Everything is represented almost exactly as in a real airplane, which is why this simulator is certified for this type of training.
For example, over the last 10 years, since you've likely been flying that long too, do weather patterns change, like something that didn't happen 10 years ago, but now suddenly I see something new? Or is it more of a steady pattern all the time?
When it comes to the weather, I think for now there aren't really such big differences yet.
So what is changing then?
For example, what's changing is that airplanes are becoming more and more, so to speak, complicated and computerized.
Okay.
It makes things a lot easier, a whole lot easier, but on the other hand, you really need to know it well to find your way around, right? In the highly computerized environment of an airplane.
Okay, so you're saying that in the past you used to fly a similar plane, but it was less computerized, and now it's easier, but again, you have to learn everything all over again.
Yes.
Great, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to fly with you in this simulator. And also for telling us a lot of interesting facts about being a pilot. Friends, give a thumbs up if you're as excited about this place as I am. I think recording a training center like this on Polish YouTube is something amazing. So if you've made it to this point, stay until the end and be sure to leave a thumbs up and we'll keep going.
This is our container for practicing fire extinguishing procedures.
Okay.
It can simulate any fire that might occur on an airplane.
So what do we have here? A seat fire, I guess, right?
Yes, a seat fire can be simulated. An overhead bin fire, right? That can also be simulated. Just like we can demonstrate a fire caused by a tablet, for example, or a laptop. And that's a completely different procedure, more complicated. There are plenty of things here that can catch fire.
Okay.
So that we can put them out.
Okay. So we'll be fighting real fire. I once did an episode about working in the fire department, so I have some experience, although not in an airplane cabin. So, shall we?
Let's begin. I'll explain soon, but you'll handle it yourself.
All right, let's put out the fire. Let's get to work.
All right, so now to activate it, before you put it on, of course, what do we do first? We inform your crew, you shout X-bag, right?
X-bag.
Exactly, because that's what it's about. Of course, now we're going to practice how to extinguish a burning tablet. And now this is a respiratory protection device, and to activate this wonderful thing, you have to pull it towards yourself and put it on.
Okay.
Yes? It's great because you can use it with glasses.
Okay, because there will be oxygen inside, right?
Yes, there are these little balloons here that generate oxygen, right? It provides oxygen for 15 minutes. It's a neat device and it runs long enough to help us breathe in a toxic or smoke-filled environment, right?
All right.
That's the first thing. So we protect ourselves, right? Then we go get our wonderful device, which is the X-bag, and it puts out fires caused by tablets, laptops, lithium-ion batteries, right? And then we take it. I'll show you in a moment how we use this X-bag.
All right.
Ready?
Ready. I'm a steward. Okay, everything's okay here? Okay, all right. X-bag.
We're protecting ourselves.
Was I supposed to pull this?
Yes, pull it. We're putting it on, protecting the airway first.
Back?
Yes.
And now we keep going.
We put on the gloves.
All right.
We take off the cylinders, the red ones, exactly, and we take one. Directly onto the tablet. Exactly. Very good. Now we take this bag. Quick. We open it from the other side and place the laptop and tablet inside. Great. And now use the extinguishing agent from the second bottle. And inside.
Very good. And we close it.
Very good. Bravo. How do you feel?
How do I feel? Wait, I need to get out of this. I feel great. I saved the plane from a fire. I got a bit hot, but I'm happy we made it. Why did we even put it in the bathroom?
In this case, it's the safest place. It has a completely different ventilation system. It's not connected to the cabin, so even if something is smoking in there, it will be separate from the cabin.
Okay.
And why is this bag good? The agent in those spray cans you used is unique because it can put out the fire and cool a device from 400 degrees down to 40
Okay.
in almost 10 seconds.
Okay, right. We sprayed quickly and put it straight into the bag.
That's fine. You could already hold it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's great.
Okay, well, let's hope that situation never happens on board. As Valeria said, it never happened to her, so if you see her somewhere on board, you know it's going to be okay.
Wojtek, how are you feeling?
I'm really satisfied, and I think Do Roboty viewers are too. I'm glad I experienced all this in a controlled environment and simulator, not in real life. Hopefully no one ever faces such a situation.
Let's hope so.
But what I experienced here was really great, and I'm very happy that I was so well taken care of by you and the whole crew. It was really awesome.
Now you know what lies behind every smile of every flight attendant, right? There's a wealth of experience, a lot of knowledge and practice. We work all the time to be prepared for anything. Safety is our priority, right? Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. We're always nice to our passengers, from the moment we greet them to the moment we say goodbye. But of course, we are also prepared for any situation. Now you know about that, right?
Now both the viewers and I know about it. And if there's anything you still haven't learned in this video about the work of flight attendants or pilots, of course, write your comments and we will, of course, reply to all of them. We're counting on a lot of comments and a lot of likes under this video. Our next flight is ahead of us, this time to Poland. Be sure to also write in the comments which other professions may be related to aviation we should check out. And I want to thank you so much for letting me be here.
Anytime.
Come here and that you shared and showed us everything so warmly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is Wojtek Kaczmarczyk. I'm very glad you made it all the way to the end. Thank you for watching this video, and I encourage you to check out more videos on the Do Roboty channel. Click on the next video and see what interesting things I've recorded there.